Assalamu alaikum, fam. Hope you're doing well. So, one of the questions was, what do I think about Gheera, protective jealousy of women, and how can a woman safeguard and respect it? So, this is actually a concept I don't know much about, I have to be honest, because it is such a different type of theory and way of being than what I'm used to, right? How do I put it? Um, Essentially, I had one suitor who kind of freaked me out about it because of how controlling it seemed, right? It's very isolationist and lonely is the feeling that I got from it. So, this person didn't want me to be on any social media at all, and even wanted me, if I just had my voice, to have a voice changer. This was something that deeply freaked me out and was not something that I would be used to as an American, right? Let me share another perspective on maybe why. Do you remember when I told you how my compulsion to Islam dream that kind of really showed me the mercy of Allah and how I was really in love with the guy and how he was very abusive? Well, it took me 9 years to get over him, right? He used to make me stay inside, and when I first moved in with him, I had a very nice body. But he kept me in a room all day, and he would leave me and he would go out with his friends and get drunk. And he wouldn't even let me walk outside at all. It was a dangerous neighborhood, but he would call me like all types of horrible names if I walked outside, saying, "You just want men to look at you." He was very vicious and vulgar, and yes, he was abusive, and he was a gang member, but he would keep me inside, and he would take my phone with him to work. So the only thing I was able to do was sit in my room all day with the television. At that time, I didn't have any books, and there was no way to work out, and I didn't have any friends, and I was not allowed to have any friends. So my body and my mental health deteriorated to extreme levels. Extreme levels. I started getting cellulite because you're not exercising, and then he complained. I was so isolated. No college, no job, no friends, no family, no exercise, no books. Locked in a room like a prison cell with not even the ability to text anybody. All day. And even at night, because he would leave me and go out. It made me realize a lot about how awful some relationships can be. And I didn't know how to drive. So I depended entirely upon him for everything. When he would come home from work, I'd want intimacy, I'd hug on him. I would lay under the bed, have outfits on. He would ignore me and want to not do anything, and he would lay down and watch TV, and I had been at home all day. And I was like, "Can we go out now? Can we go to the park?" And then eventually we got a dog, and the dog was literally my only friend. My only friend. His name was Dewey. He was a pit bull, brindle colored, like a brindle looks like tiger stripe kinda. And that was my only friend. I had a tomato garden, and that was it. And I stayed home. And that was the most miserable part of my life, and my health deteriorated. My soul was deeply abused and afflicted. So when I hear Muslim men say that, you can't even talk to men, you can't play PlayStation online because it's haram, you cannot go out unless I'm there, you can't have a job, you can't even have social media to where you can have some type of interaction with the outside world, I get PTSD of those very abusive days because I was literally stuck with him. I was stuck with him in the hood in Richmond, California, and I couldn't go back to my family. And anytime I talked on the phone, he would stand there and watch me. And he started to be more and more abusive, and my psychology was so weak and frail that I couldn't even fight back anymore after he would be so mentally abusive and hit me, smack me, really just treat me like garbage. And I never want to go back to that ever again. I took a knife and I cut up all my legs because I was so out of it. I was so extreme, and I even tried to commit suicide. I took a bunch of Tylenol sleeping pills, and I wanted to die, and I couldn't take it. That type of extremeness was horrible. Later, he let me get a fish tank, so my only friends were my fish tank and the dog. And he controlled me to such a degree that I never want to go back to that again, ever again. And he had what you call the protective jealousy. And he would only take me out to eat Burger King. He wouldn't take me to eat anything nice. He never wanted to do anything fun with me. He never surprised me with any gifts or flowers or anything at all. And he constantly left me inside and would go to drink. He would come home drunk. And later I know that he definitely cheated on me. Most definitely cheated on me. And he'd come back at 3 in the morning or 7 a.m. so he could shower and go to work with a huge hangover and just leave me in the house like I was nothing. So going back to that is no. I was a very free person. That was the people talk about pair bonding. That was someone who I pair bonded with because it was the first person I ever really loved. I didn't lose my virginity to him, but he was the first person I really ever loved. I think I met him when I was 14. And we started talking, and I was with him for quite some time. And he was older than me, a couple years older than me. We're actually born on the same day, both born in December, as you know. And yes, so we lived with his mother, his brother, his stepdad, and his mother was a witch. And for a little while, his brother's wife lived there with us, and later they weren't together anymore. So I had her, but it was not enough. It was literally being inside a house all day, no exercise. And someone like me, I need exercise. He wouldn't give me a gym membership. Later he bought a Bowflex and then put it in the garage. And that wasn't enough really because it didn't have the parts and stuff. So it was very hard. And when I would go to cook, his mom, she was really mean. Would say she didn't like Italian food, very mentally abusive. I mean, that's just a horrible feeling, living in a dangerous place where I can't walk. I couldn't walk the dog. My only friends are animals, and and it was cable TV. Back then, there wasn't any, I don't think there was Netflix at that time. But I never want to go back to that. So when some people talk about protective jealousy, like, oh, you have to wear a burqa, you have to sit inside, you can't even look at another man, you can't talk to any other man, you can't have any type of male companions. Even if they're intellectuals or scholars, you can never be alone with a man. It's just... And being forced to only be around women that sounds god-awful. To only have to be around women sounds like just terrible. Oh my gosh. To be around women who've been sheltered their whole life, who are like calm little hens. Oh my gosh. And not even be able to sit and talk to some old fishermen. And what was it like on the sea? And even in a niqab, I couldn't handle something like that. See, to me, I'm never going back to a mind prison like that because it's not healthy for someone like me. I have an energy where I want to be out exercising, hiking, climbing trees, walking the dog. And you can say that's your Western part. Women are meant to not be seen, stay in your houses, no free mixing. Okay, But if I have the ability to not do that, I think I'm going to take not do that. And if there's Muslim men who want women to do that, by all means, but I know my hair would fall out, I would get acne, I would get eating disorders, I would get psychologically unstable. I have to have interactions with other human beings, and being forced to only be around women, that's horrible. That's, to me, because I grew up around a lot of men. As I say, the American lifestyle, going to classes, there's boys and girls. To be forced to be around women when growing up, I didn't ever just hang out with women. I have, today, 5 female friends. And I know you say, oh, all male friends want to smash, they all want to get in your pants. But I'm talking about not young, hot male friends. I have acquaintances from classmates and stuff. But professors, teachers, who I can be like, hey, what do you think about this certain policy position? We would like to talk to you about it. Those are the type of friends I'm talking about. Elders, smart people. Sometimes at the coffee shop, you'll see the bunch of old men, and they're sitting around talking. And sometimes I just take my coffee and I kind of sit a little bit near them so I can hear what they're talking about, even though I'm not involved. Because the men have better conversations than the women. This is just something that I've seen. So if I had to be forced to stay inside and only interact with women, and I can't ride my bicycle, I can't play basketball, I can't do go fishing by the ocean, it's very dangerous, for someone's psychological health. I think, in your body deteriorates. You get varicose veins, you get irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, you get a lot of problems. And it is very unhealthy for the human mind to be stuck inside a prison cell like that. 4 walls, it's a lot. I read a lot, and I'm a bit of a hermit. But there's a point where you have to get some human interaction. And if your man is so exhausted and tired, he's been beaten down, and he doesn't have any energy for intimacy, he doesn't have any money to go to a little tiny beach or something where you can do together, and you're literally for 7 days a week just inside, you're not going to get vitamin D, you're not going to get the proper cardio where you have to open up your lungs. There's a lot of bad health effects, right? And that just seems a bit much for me. So I'm not the one to talk about it. I'd have to have maybe a scholar talk about it. I mean, my experience with letting somebody completely dominate me and control me led me to want to just exit this reality, And maybe there's women who are meant to have that, but I think you can wear a niqab, be a teacher, have a job, and just have some self-control on someone whom you trust, and Allah will judge you. I'm not sure how it'll work. But let's say they say, oh, well, no real Muslim man who has manhood will let you do that. I think at that point, for me personally, it would be like, hey, just get a non-believer then, right? Get a non-believer, or you get somebody who will, or just be alone. I'm not sure. But there's going to be a good Muslim man whose ego is not that fragile to where he says to himself, my wife has to stay inside a box, and this beautiful woman is going to just deteriorate. My psychology, my energy cannot handle that. I tried it once, and like I told you, I completely fell apart. And psychologists and doctors both have told me that lifestyle is not healthy. That doesn't mean I'm going out and partying and flirting and bending over and doing stupid things. But sitting in the park, laying down, looking at the sky, staring at the clouds, that's just normal, relaxing things. Like walking to get a coffee and a pastry, and then, thinking and contemplating, standing and talking to the crossing guard about some new foreign policy position. These are just regular standard stuff, to where if you have to let a bit bit of a freedom and a bit of trust. That's where I differ with the like very extreme, okay, not extreme, but strict orthodox view of what a woman can do. Because my health couldn't handle that. And I don't seem to get along with the women who are very isolated. They have a different mentality that sounds like a psychosis, and they don't, their personalities don't mesh with mine. You know, I don't know. It's healthy to be around certain men who are smart and wise and you can learn from them. I don't know. I just, not being allowed to like see the sun and then go to college or take a part-time job or take a walk. These are things, you know, that I don't know. To only just wait around for him, you better have a big house and some property, you know. You better have some big house and property to where there's a lot to do. Take care of chickens, take care of the garden. You better have a lot of like things at your property, your compound, your estate, for the woman to keep herself occupied. But if you live in an apartment in a city and you expect her to stay inside and stay hot and sexy, you're gonna see a schizophrenic personality come out, bipolar disorder. Something is gonna happen to that woman to where she is gonna change into something different, because there's a reason why they put prisoners in isolation. There's a reason why torture camps, you know, put you in a compound little box, because your mind bounces off the walls. And pretending to say that she's gonna just pray all day, she's gonna become loopy and loony, and you know, there's something not right there. You know, it's healthy to feel the breeze in your hair when you can stand in your backyard, or we can take a walk, to see your neighbors, to, you know, communicate with people in the outside world. So for me personally, this concept of Gheera, protective jealousy, from what I've gotten to experience so far, is that those men want to just put me in a box so I can just die slowly. And I would rather die. I would rather die than do that. Or be alone. But there's going to be a guy out there who's not going to be like that. So we just pick like that. And you can say, well, that just means you don't love Allah, you're not obeying, you don't have enough taqwa, you don't have enough submission. Okay. But I'm not going to let my hair fall out, my teeth rot out of my mouth, look in the mirror every day wanting to die, just so that people can be like, you have enough submission. You see what I'm saying? I've been there, even though he wasn't Muslim, and I've seen how dangerous and precarious it is, and how so many men abuse that. And to me, that's how you get it. You get into abuse, is when, if somebody can't even handle your face, like even in a niqab or a hijab, being online, just talking about basic things. You know, like, geez, dude, you know. And again, I have dated people who wanted me to dress sexy before. So I've had experiences with both, where they're like, okay, you need to wear this outfit, I want to see you in short shorts, high heels, let's go to a car show. So I don't want another partner to parade me like a piece of meat, like the kind I had before, who like really want to force you to be sexy, and they take pride in you dressing like you're a prostitute. But I also don't want to be put into a box again. There's a balance, you know, of moderation, of, okay, you know, where are we? What can be a good middle ground? What is scientifically healthy for your personal psychology? And how can you get enough exercise and communication with the outside world and with other people while your partner is at work all day? And to have a basic level of respect for each other. And if something happens, someone cheats, get a divorce. It's pretty simple, you know. If someone screws up, okay, just get a divorce. You know, and Allah will punish whoever needs to be punished and account for whatever needs to be accounted for. But the concept of Gheera when women have tried to force me into a relationship like that, like, oh, you know, if they don't want you on the internet, it's for their honor. So I'm supposed to sacrifice my mental health and want to die every day so that he can have honor amongst his guy friends. So his honor is more important than my actual mental and physical bodily health. You know, that's not something I can do. And a lot of those women, they get very fat, they get a stomach, they have a flat pancake butt, and they you know, they have more issues, or they've been totally psychologically fractured to where they're like panda bears and they've lost all sense of self, and it's almost like they've clocked out of this world, or they're just very narrow and very upset, and then they hide on the internet, hide their icons, and spit their venom and anger at random people on the internet because they're locked inside all day because of their man's Gheera. So I've gotten to see so many different expressions of relationships and boundaries. But I won't be with somebody who wants to take me off all social media, will never let me teach any students in a mixed classroom, will never let me talk to a man in a niqab. This is too much for me. And that's what it's going to be like for a lot of American reverts. So if you want someone who you can isolate and put in a cage like how I put my birds in a cage, then you'd have to pick someone who's willing to do that. And that doesn't make me a feminist. That just makes me aware of how I cannot handle that. And I never want to be able to handle that. Because there are a lot of good things that need to be done. And I want to be out there giving dawah to the adult entertainment industry. Working with the gangster girls to get them to have a better life. To go on the internet here and talk to you and talk to people across the world. To be active in my community, and I would need to have somebody by my side who is okay with that. I cannot close the door and then on the outside you hear help me, and you hear like everybody needs some help, and you say, oh, it's not your job. Well, I'm gonna make it my job. Okay, there's a lot of evil in the world, and I'm not gonna sit down and do nothing while there's so much evil and suffering in the world. I'm not just gonna lock myself inside and do nothing for anyone else in the world except just stay inside and that's it. That's just not my destiny, and that's not what Allah has written for me. No. So again, maybe someone can explain it to me more, but what I've gotten to see from the suitors has definitely troubled me and made me afraid of that, of a guy who hides behind that concept of Gheera in order to be psychologically and physically abusive and lock me away. I don't know. Give me some, tell me about it, you know? Educate me, I guess.